Hey, what's up, guys? This is Sean. Welcome to my presentation on Peru. The motto being firm and happy for the Union. All right. So, Peru is a country in South America that's home to a section of the Amazon rainforest and Machu Picchu, which is an ancient Incan city in the Andes Mountains. The region around Machu Picchu is rich in agricultural sites, and on Peru's Pacific coast is Lima, the capital, and to the south is Cusco, the original capital of the Incan Empire. Very cool, huh? The country itself is divided into 25 regions with many unique and differing landscapes, ranging from the Andes Mountains to the Amazon rainforest, and also having tons and tons of local wildlife like chinchillas and llamas and alpacas. Over 30 million people live in Peru, with almost 80% of the population in urban areas. So Peru's city, Lima, is the largest city and the capital city, and it hosts about a third of Peru's population. And within this population, there's a whole bunch of different ethnic groups, the Amerindians, Mestizo, the whites, and there's also a huge, not a huge, but a portion of Asian influence. There was a Japanese man that just tried to run for president. The income level in Peru is considered upper middle class, according to the World Bank, with the currency being the Peruvian sol. And some major industries in Peru include mining, particularly copper mining, silver mining, gold mining, and zinc. And tourism is also a growing industry. Fun side fact, I will be in Peru in 2 days. All right, so the languages of Peru, it's interesting. There's Spanish, Quichua, and Aymara. And those are the most prominently spoken languages, with Spanish coming after Francis Pizarro came in the 1500s and claimed this land for Spain. There's also a ton of native languages, minor Amazonian languages that are still relevant in certain parts of Peru. Peruvian culture is very alive with music, art, dance, and food. Soccer is the most important sport in the country by far, with Spanish influence events like bullfighting popular as well. Music-wise, the Peruvians are famous for their Andean pan flutes, which have become a staple around the South Andes Mountains, and for a lot of other cultures to kind of get a sense of Peru. Food-wise, if you head to the coast, you'll find yourself fueled by fish dishes. But if you head to the mountains, you'll be eating things like alpaca and potatoes, more hearty food. The current president of Peru is Pedro Pablo Kuczynski, who was voted into office in 2016. The country runs on a presidentially represented democratic republic with terms lasting 5 years. Another interesting side fact, Pedro Pablo Kuczynski was a Wall Street investment banker before being the president of the United States, with no previous, not the United States, Peru, sorry, before being in politics. Interesting connections between this president and the president of the United States, Donald Trump. Peru has a wide variety, a big relationship internationally. In the last decade or so, it's grown a lot, with recent moves being made by President Kuczynski, who met with U.S. President Donald Trump on February 24th of this year to have discussions between the countries. However, there are some major gripes between Peru and its South American neighbor, Venezuela, with both heads of state butting heads over ideals and U.S. relations. The Venezuelan president claims that the Peruvian president, Kuczynski, is acting like a dog to the United States. Now, Peru has a wide variety of media outlets, but some of the most popular being El Comercial paper, La República, and América Televisión. These groups make up a huge part of the Peruvian media. The El Comercial group, though, concentrates 80% of the estimated circulation of newspapers and 78% of the market readership. Its weight on the internet is unparalleled, and according to the Media Ownership Monitor, or MOM for short, analysis, it concentrates 65% of the estimated total audience of online news media in Peru. In free television, much of the audience is concentrated on the channels controlled by the three largest groups in Peru, América Televisión, Latina, and ATV. The three groups account for a combined 57% of the television audiences as measured by Cantor Ibope Media in 2015. It's much the same in the radio world of Peru, with the 10 most important radio stations being controlled by four major groups, which would be RPP Group, the CRP Group, Universal Corporation, and Panamericana de Radios, with 7 of these groups, these radio stations, just belonging to 2 of those major organizations, Grupo RPP and CRP. In digital media, 90% of advertising revenue is concentrated in the top 10 digital media sites, with 7 of them belonging to El Comercial, which we discussed earlier is very much a powerhouse in Peruvian media. Media outlets in Peru were not found to be affiliated to any political parties on the national level, but get a lot of funding from the government. So this hasn't come to bias the media's attention to politics in Peru too much, but it is a card that the government can pull on media groups, which it did in 2014 when it began working to disband the Grupo Comercial, which was on the verge of monopolizing Peruvian media, even having ties with the Wall Street Journal in the United States and the international Rothschild banking cartel. Freedom of press is guaranteed in the 1993 Peruvian constitution, but not always respected in practice, with many cases rising up in 2014 about the mistreatment and murder of critical journalists in Peru. In the same year, Daniel Aresti, Peru's interior minister, faced a jury on charges of murdering a journalist back in 1988. Aresti was let go without further investigation, but faced major criticism from the Peruvian National Association of Journalists and the Institute for Press and Society. And on the World Index, or on the World Press and Freedom Index, Peru is ranked 84th out of 180 countries. Actually, sorry, 80th. That is my mistake. Despite the existence of access to information laws, transparency regarding official documentation is inconsistent in practice, particularly at the regional and local levels. In December 2012, the government published a legislative decree denying the public access to any information related to national security and defense. Any person, journalist, or news organization who reveals such information could be charged with a criminal offense and punished with up to 15 years in prison. The Peruvian National Association of Journalists and the Institute for Press and Society Code of Ethics is very similar to the United States SPJ Code of Ethics, laying out its own terms for seeking truth, minimizing harm, and staying unbiased. It also incorporates the need for society to be democratic so that news outlets may share freely. Now, when it comes to the global leadership, Peru has been playing its part. In 2015, for example, the IMF World Bank annual meetings were held in Lima, the first in Latin America in nearly 50 years. The last time the annual meetings were held in Latin America was in 1967 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Now, right now, Peruvian media is in a state of change. With the El Comercial Group still having a strong grip on many media outlets in Peru, it's hard for people to get as much outside information. However, Peru is also advancing in its placement within the world, and more people are beginning to take action about reporting and maintaining truthful, non-commercialized media, especially with the budding, scene of the internet in South America. I think, in the next 5 years, Peru will be at the forefront of its South American counterparts, maybe only having to compete with the success and stability of Uruguay, but far advancing past countries like Venezuela, which has recently seen troubled times ahead economically because of their lack of money. Overall, I'm very excited and happy to have reported on Peru, and I'm stoked to be going there next week. I hope you enjoyed my presentation and find yourself in Peru someday. If you want to keep up with Peruvian news, a good media source to follow would be the Peruvian Times. And I don't know, this country, from its culture, food, music, politics, even sports, soccer, it's making an impact in the South American community, and this is not going to be the last time you hear about Peru this decade.